Here we are back with episode 21 of G-Witch. We've gotten plenty of emotional damage the last few episodes, but with Benerit reeling everything back in at the end of the last one, maybe we'll get a break from that. Or things will keep getting worse, who knows. I'm excited to find out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. The episode is called What We Can Do Now, and it starts with Guston and Belmeria making their way to the school. Guston is talking to somebody, telling him to take something to Benerit's head office, and that he has an idea for a pilot. He's probably talking about some kind of mobile suit, perhaps even a Gundam. With them making their way to the school instead of Plant Quetta, maybe they've already been there and found out what some component for Quiet Zero is and have taken it. More on this later. We see the state of the school, and Noria did a huge number on it. There are lots of mobile suits and construction equipment working on the wreckage. A small detail from the last episode, Mio's greenhouse got destroyed in the attack. There is a large camp where the students are currently living. It seems like Benerit is keeping all of the students, at least the regular ones, at this camp for the time being. We then see Soletta walking around giving out blankets. Cecilia intercepts her, asking her why she's doing that. Soletta just smiles and says it's because she can move around. She hands her a blanket and moves on to the next person. As Soletta is walking away, Cecilia asks her if she's changed. Soletta just says she guesses so. We then get the opening. Before we move on, quick note about Soletta's comment about being able to move around. I, and many others, believe that Petra, who was seen under a lot of rubble and bleeding out from the end of the last episode, survived the ordeal but perhaps lost her legs or something. With this, she may get some Gundam ink prosthetics here shortly. Anyway, continuing on. And hey, look at that. The first scene right after the opening is Petra basically on life support. She got tore up pretty bad. We see Gwell talking to Felsi on the phone asking how Petra is. She's kind of freaking out, asking if they're definitely going to save her. She was also trying to get a hold of Lauda, and Gwell says he'll try to contact him himself, telling them to get some rest. We then see Kananji talking with Rajan about the Lefrith Thorn. Kananji notes that it definitely is the same one as the attack from the Rumble Ring, but couldn't identify the pilot, given that the cockpit was obliterated. Rajan says them not noticing Shaddiq was harboring them was a failure on their part. Kananji mentions the Space Assembly League making their move. Also, we see a news report that Mio is now the president of Benerit. I guess the suffering from success I mentioned in a previous video was accurate. Grell then shows up asking if Mio is back yet, and we get a quick shot of comatose Delling. We then see Mio, looking rather down, with Gwell showing up. Yeah, she isn't happy about what happened, blaming herself for both the attack at Quen Harbor and at the school. Gwell says Rajan is talking with Benerit's board members about setting the group's direction. He also mentions Shaddiq being in custody, which we shortly cut to. He seems pretty smug still. He gives Mio his condolences for her becoming president of Benerit. He then asks how Sabina and the others from Grassley House are. Mio says they're all unharmed. Shaddiq says everything was planned by him and to go easy on them. Mio says that his ideal of putting Earth and space on equal terms was dazzling, and that's why he did it the wrong way. Shaddiq says that someone has to, even if it's just so there isn't any more people like him. Mio asks when he got the Space Assembly League involved, and he says he contacted them a while ago. He then asks if she thinks he's despicable for using cowardly means. She says no, and that she's just as guilty. Cutting back to the school, we see a couple students complaining about their food situation, which looks to mainly consist of energy gels and vitamin drinks. Soletta then walks up with the solution, tomatoes, which is a nice change of pace, I guess. We see Choo Choo also handing them out, and telling the students to thank Soletta for them. Nuno asks Soletta about the greenhouse, since it was destroyed, but apparently Soletta had been refrigerating many of them, so they decided to start handing them out to the students. They got them carted up and got to work. Nika is also there, and Martin says they should talk again. Nika mentions once the recovery work is done that she's dropping out of the school. She says she isn't done with school, but she wants to turn herself in and make amends so she can return with no regrets. She still wants to bridge Earth and space. Martin apologizes, saying he didn't want to punish her, asking her what he was supposed to do. She said if she was alone, she would have given up, but ever since she met all of them, she was able to keep trying. Martin says if she needs anything, to let him know. After that, we see Soletta handing out a tomato to Ruji, with the Haro thanking her. Choo Choo mentions that should be everybody, with Guston and Belmeria showing up. Guston asks for Soletta, asking if she's Prospera's daughter, and addresses himself as an inspector for the Assembly League. Choo Choo asks what they want, but they have something to ask of Soletta. We then cut to the Space Assembly League's front. The Pale Technology CEOs are holding a conference about the attack at the school and the abduction of Sarius, along with the attack on Quen Harbor. They also mention the secret development of Quiet Zero, what they call a weapon of mass destruction. They're calling out Benerit as a threat against the peace of the fronts, and it looks like the Assembly League is going to attempt to dissolve it. And by forcible intervention, they basically mean a full-on attack by the looks of it. Cutting back to Rajan, he mentions Pale deciding to jump ship, which explains the whistle blowing on Benerit. Guel asks if they've been able to find Prospera, but to no avail. Kananji also mentions that all data about Quiet Zero had been erased. Guel asks about the MS Development Council in Cathedra, but apparently they're with the League on this one. Rajan then gets a call from Sarius, and they talk about the Assembly League. Mio says the situation is frustrating, and that Cathedra can't hold the League back anymore. Sarius says she should have learned more from Delling. He then says to cut off Grassley and pin the responsibility on them to reduce the damage to the group as a whole. He says to only think about the group's existence first. However, she says she doesn't want to sacrifice anyone else. We then get back to Soletta and Earthhouse talking with Guston and Belmeria about Quiet Zero. Belmeria says that Quiet Zero is a system that establishes and extends a datastorm network, deployed by aerial and mobile suit type gun bits. Apparently all systems that use permit will be under its control. The students remark that most things use permit, so not a whole lot, at least in the fronts, won't be affected. Guston goes on to say that Prospera plans to use Quiet Zero to create a huge datastorm network within the Earth sphere. If control of the fronts is lost, there will be a lot of loss of life. We then see Elin 5 eavesdropping like a goon. Guston continues, saying they need to stop Prospera before Benerit and the League start their conflict. He asks for their cooperation, but Soletta says reasoning with her mom is probably impossible. Guston says she should be able to since she's her daughter, however Soletta says that she isn't her real one. She doesn't really know how to explain it well, while Belmeria is concerned about her talking about it. Soletta says she wants everyone to know. She goes on to explain how she's a Repla child, made from Ares genes, and that Prospera's real daughter is Ariel. That she used the gun technology to transfer Ares' biometric code into Ariel, making it her body now. She goes on to say that Ari can only live inside the data storm, and that Prospera is trying to make a place for her to live freely. She says she still loves her mom regardless, but believes that she won't listen to what she says. She then apologizes that she couldn't be more helpful. Guston says there's another option if reasoning doesn't work, and mentions a machine that the Assembly League took during the Vanadis incident. A Gundam they refer to as a monster. Guston then asks her to pilot it. According to Belmeria, it's called the Calibarn, and seems pretty concerned about it. Apparently it has no filter against data storms, yada yada, Gundam curse. Nika then pipes up, calling her out for her sacrifices in her Gundam experiments, referring to the Elins, and saying she's making Soletta expendable. She refutes this and says she doesn't know exactly why she's doing it. She then goes on about the Vanadis incident, that if only she had died during it, that she keeps thinking about it. She then asks for forgiveness. Elin 5 overhears this, but doesn't seem too happy about it. Nika says she's too selfish, and that Soletta shouldn't pilot the Gundam. Soletta then has a realization, that the reason she was never affected by the Gundam's curse is because Ari was taking it on for her, which is something we've deduced pretty easily. Belmeria then says Ari was the only one able to fully synchronize with the data storm. Soletta goes on to say she wants to talk to Ari and Prospera one more time. The other students show concern, saying she might die. Soletta then says that even if she doesn't gain anything, she has to do what she can, and asks Guston to take her to the Gundam. We then cut to the aerial, with both it and Quiet Zero connecting. Godoy asks if Prospera is ready, and they begin. We see the Assembly League's fleet moving in, and they detect Quiet Zero, not knowing what it is. We then see this big, menacing, floating pillar of red. Mio and the crew see it too, shocked by what they're looking at. The League guys just want to capture it and use it as evidence against Benerit, but you know. I don't think that's going to go very well, to be honest here. This guy seems pretty confident though. Prospera then tells Ari to begin. They deploy a bunch of those gun-bit suits, with the League deploying their own mobile suits, like they're gonna do something about it. The fight breaks out, with Prospera's unmanned suits proving to be far more maneuverable than the Assemblies. Shortly after, Quiet Zero, along with the gun suits, deploy the data storm, overriding the Assembly's entire fleet, allowing them to easily destroy it with no resistance. Prospera says job well done and thanks Ari. She then says they have begun creating the world for her. We then see everyone's reaction to it, Grell remarking how easy he was able to wipe out the Assembly's fleet, and Mio crying about more death, still blaming herself. We then see Guston getting word of it, with the students wondering if Quiet Zero is really that crazy. Guston says they've at least pinpointed their location, and Chuchu wants them to take Earthhouse with them. She's still against this, but she doesn't want Soletta to go alone. Martin also says he won't abandon another housemate. Then Elin 5 walks in, wanting to come with them too. They ask what he's doing there, and he says since security is tight at that front, he couldn't leave alone. He also says he has somewhere he wants to go, and that if they let him walk away, he'll help them out. He also says he refuses to pilot a Gundam, looking at Belmeria. He apologizes to Suletta for messing with her all those times, with Suletta asking him to tell her about the Elin she used to know. He says he'll tell her what he knows, and Gustan saying he hates being an adult. The episode ends off with some shots of Petra and Felsi, before cutting to Lauda blaming Mio for what has happened, looking at the short set. Looks like we may get Lauda going rogue in the short set after all. So, quite a bit happened this episode. Let's go over some of it. The thing Gustan was talking about at the beginning of the episode was indeed a Gundam, called the Calibarn. Apparently it's from the Vanadis incident, and has the same Gundam curse stuff going on. I predict that Suletta won't be affected by it, and that Eri taking the data storm for her is a red herring, and that she's never had an issue regardless. We'll see how that goes though. Petra did survive, though barely. She's in critical condition, but I see her making a good recovery. Might need some Gundam prosthetics though. Mio won the election, pretty unceremoniously. No real added flair, she just became president and is suffering from it. Kinda sucks that right after becoming president, the Assembly League decides to dissolve the group. Good thing Prospera took care of that issue, right? Haha. Quiet Zero is pretty cool though. So we finally got the whole breakdown about Quiet Zero. The thing that I kinda raise an eyebrow to is how Prospera was able to hide that huge thing without anyone noticing. Like seriously, the thing is gigantic and ominous. And somehow Prospera was able to manufacture a ton of those gun suits for it. How did she even fund it? Is it able to mass produce units itself? So many questions. In any case, she'll probably park it around Earth or something and make the data storm world for Eri to chill in. No one can really stop her since she can just override everything, since permits are used everywhere. Except Suletta, she'll definitely do something about it. Suletta telling everyone about her and Eri was nice. She's come to terms with it, and bless Choo Choo for wanting to stick with her, along with everyone else. I also called Elin 5 going with Earth House. I'm guessing he just bailed from the Lefrith before Benerit got to him, as we only saw the suit last episode. I didn't really expect the Assembly League to go full war mode like that. In fact, I don't think we've really seen how militant the League is. It's kind of hard to gauge how much of a bold move that was, since Benerit, for what I gather, is basically the most powerful entity in space. Regardless, the League should be crippled now with Prospera wiping out one of their large fleets. She has a lot of control over space right now, so we'll see how our Earth House crew deals with it. Lastly, it looks like Lauda is going to go rogue here pretty soon. A lot of people were talking about him piloting the short set for one reason or another, but it looks like he has it out for Mio, blaming her for a lot that has happened. Hopefully Gwell can calm him down. All in all, another great episode. Let me know in the comments what you thought and any theories you have going forward. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoy Gundam and Mecha, consider subscribing to the channel as it's the best way to support it right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.